Welcome to Intentional Academy Live, episode 18.
18.
18. I'm Tony Farrar, joined by Nicole Farrar and Justin Thomas, and we are here to help you squeeze every last drop of value out of your education. We're going to show you how to win through the power of intentional learning, no matter where you are in life. We're here to help you manage your time, get control of your money, and launch your dream career. I think it's been a month.
I don't know. It's
3
been
weeks? A month?
What I had the 27th of March as the last episode before I changed.
Okay. I think that's 3 weeks. Well, either way, we've missed you. Special episode.
Yeah.
Today we are breaking the silence. We'll tell you where it is that we've been. And then we're going to actually invite you to a little bit of a behind the scenes episode here. We're going to talk shop a little bit, strategy session, figure out this Intentional Academy thing and where we're headed next. So
We need to get caught up.
Mm-hmm.
let's do
A lot has happened.
Yes, it has. So dive right in. Where have we been?
I've been sick some.
I've been
just-
working real life IRL, actual.
Right? A little bit of doubling down at the day jobs. I think we've all been squashing fires. It's that time of year.
Yeah.
The spring semester, even if you're not in school, I feel like it's the most uphill part of the year. Like getting from February to May. That's the grind.
There's taxes.
Mm-hmm. Those were submitted this morning.
There's hail in April. I
Yeah.
don't understand.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, wait. I almost got sunburned last week when it was 85 degrees. And then today it was snowing. So I give up. I don't understand.
So we've been doubling down on our day jobs. We've been avoiding the chaos that is the weather.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in addition to that, we wrapped up Midterm Rehab with great success there. That was pretty exciting. And since then, we've been doing a lot of reflecting on what it is we do because it's intentional.
Mm-hmm. We're also, novices and trying to figure out the best way to make this the most amazing thing ever. So
Yeah.
This is going to be a meeting about that.
Right. Because if you had 15 hours a week and 65 hours of stuff to do, what would you prioritize?
Yeah.
Going
Stay
to the restroom.
What I can say is that we have one big goal, and that is to bring as much value to stressed out students as we possibly can. And what we've been doing is spending a lot of time trying to understand the problem better, because what we don't want to be is another solution that's wandering around looking for a problem.
Yep.
We're not trying to create something and then convince people they need it. We're trying to find a need
Mm-hmm.
and meet it. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, it's been kind of difficult because there's a lot of things that I don't think people realize they need. Don't want to acknowledge that they need because there's got blinders on, and they're just expecting to be stressed.
Mm-hmm. They're already working hard and they may have to put a little more effort in to make things easier, and it just seems a little overwhelming.
Yeah, that's a weird feeling, right?
It's a hard sell.
Add something to your to-do list.
Yeah.
And trust me, it'll make it better. That feels weird, right?
So let's tell Justin about what we're trying to create here.
Yeah. Well, you want me to jump all the way to the end, or
yeah?
where?
I mean, I didn't really see your organization set up there, so you can start from where you want to start.
Sure. So the big thing that I observed as I've looked through who's following what, there's 300-ish people on Instagram and Twitter, and people jumping on Snapchat now, and the Facebook page, the email list, all of this. If I look through it, it's like 90% students who know me from work.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm not surprised. But as I dug a little deeper, what I found was I think the reason for it is that they know me.
Mm-hmm.
They know my personality. And so when they see the stuff that I'm posting, they hear it in my voice. They hear it in my personality. They see through that I am slightly different than the other stuff out there. But that's
because you kind of force them to take the time to know that just because they're exposed to begin with.
Exactly.
But
On the other hand, if I'm a complete stranger and all you see is the stuff that I'm putting out there,
yeah.
I think it comes off a little preachy.
Yeah, or I don't know if it's any different for someone to actually stop to acknowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much out there. It's just so overwhelming. I mean, I ignore
Yeah.
it.
I think I mean, a lot of what we do and a lot of what we say is being said just in different ways sometimes.
Mhm.
And we've had some successes and we haven't documented those successes live, like
Yeah.
user success stories, things like that
Right.
of actual how this class impacted them or how some of these methods have impacted their lives.
But we still need to get them to listen to that stuff, to
Right.
recognize that it's different. That's a hard thing to do. So
And so one of the big things that I'm trying to focus on and trying to figure out how to do is bring more of my actual personality, more authenticity to the content we're producing. Essentially, preach less, more of me. Have people come across my stuff and feel more like a big brother or that friend that your parents like, you
yeah.
know, than
That's,
that
yeah.
dude that just tells me what I should do and it's not what I'm doing and
Yeah.
gives me one more hard time.
Difficult for you to do when you teach all day.
Yeah, teacher voice. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, you do it on here too sometimes.
It's the worst.
It's hard.
At least it's not like Ben Stein.
It's not a bad teacher voice. It's just after 5 minutes and it's ingrained in the students like, oh no.
Here we go.
This is a teacher voice.
Sounds like we're in class again.
Yeah. So
what's along those lines, one of the biggest things is I've just started listening more. You might notice that it's been a little quiet on the different channels lately. What I'm trying to do is listen more, hear what the problems really are. So, by the way, if you'd like to share a little about that, please reach out and chat with me. But what I'm trying to answer is an interesting and weird question, which is, what's the job that college students actually hire college to do? Why are they paying all this money to go to college? What's the motivation to go to class or not go to class, or chase a grade or not chase a grade? This major versus that major, this school versus that school. Why the heck are you there?
That's a difficult answer because that's multifaceted. Because I mean, there's people who just assume that if I go to college, I get a better job and get more money.
There's definitely a big focus on the career side of things that I'm hearing from people, and a lot of stress around that.
Paying a lot of money for a degree that you might not necessarily need to do the field that you're looking to work in
or want to do. We've heard a lot of people majoring in things just because they've been told that there are more opportunities in that field, even if it's not something they're interested in. You know, go into computer science, they're looking for a lot of those. Be a nurse, they're looking for a lot of those. You know, trying to find your major based on job opportunities that are currently out there.
Which is crazy, right? I was chatting with somebody today who was a marketing and PR person who said, oh, obviously there's no jobs in that. I don't know why I even majored in it. And all I could think is, we are in the most marketed and communicated time in human history. I mean, the box in your hand that you're currently talking to me on is...
Yeah. I think the trouble there is that you have to be willing to do anything, move anywhere, be in an environment or a urban environment where there's lots of opportunities for those kinds of things that people are paying for, because there are a lot of companies that don't want to pay for that right now, you know, even though they probably need it.
And so the trick there, I think, isn't necessarily don't major in communications. It's figure out how to make money at it, because that's a reality. But anyhow, all of this is just an example of the fact that I think students are very career focused. You know, somebody else asked me today if a Bachelor of Arts would be useful. And I just said, define useful.
What are you trying to do?
And they said, well, put it on my resume and get a job. Oh, okay. So that's really one of the big pain points right now, and I think that that's exciting because we definitely have things to offer in the career finding side of things. And I don't want to go too bold and make any big statements, but I feel that what we're working on could help somebody connect just about any major to an income.
Sure.
And it's just a matter of
How to go
framing it
about
in the
it.
right way. How do you want to do this? Right?
Exactly. Like, you can get a degree in philosophy, but does that increase your value at the plant where you're doing sales of some mechanical widget? Things like that. Like, I could put a pool in the backyard of my house. It's not going to increase the value of my house. So there's a line of how much benefit you're gaining from the what your investment.
But on the other hand, we need philosophers. And here's an example.
I wasn't downing.
Recently, we had a self-driving car hit somebody. It's been all over the news.
Oh, yeah.
Think about this a minute. This is like classic ethics class problem statement. They call it the trolley problem. You're going down the street and the brakes are out, and you have to decide between two groups of people that you're going, and which one do you drive into? And then they add things like, oh, well, one group's all old people, or one group is all kids, or whatever. And it's this ethics debate, and there's not really a right answer. And what I think is really interesting about that is that if I ever find myself in that situation, in that instant, I have to take all of my morality and instinct and make that call. If you have a self-driving car, that decision has to be programmed ahead of time. Who makes that decision?
Yeah.
That's a job for the philosophers and the politicians. How do you hard code which way this thing swerves? Or does somebody who's going to drive a self-driving car have to get in their car and answer a bunch of questionnaires before to let them go the first time so that it responds the way they would respond?
That would be weird. All I keep thinking is like all those movies with artificial intelligence deciding that like we all need to die because
yeah, right.
It's like humans are terrible.
Yeah, right.
Or is it like
Huh?
What was the Tom Cruise movie where they were arresting people before they committed crimes?
Oh yeah. Minority Report.
Or Minority Report.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's keep going. I want to get to the problem solving.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the other big things that I got out of what's been going on lately is that we need to continue working to simplify the message.
Okay.
Last year in the fall, we taught a class that was 7 weeks long. We distilled that down into a thing called Midterm Rehab, which was an hour and a half long. The principles are tested. It actually works. We've got lots of good anecdotes of people implementing this stuff in their lives and having an amazing experience. I think the delivery is improving. We're getting better at talking about this stuff. The implementation of these ideas is really hard. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day.
We don't have 5 easy steps.
Right. We don't have 5 easy steps yet. And a lot of people don't even have the belief yet that what we're talking about can be done without a lot of extra effort. And the whole point is that we're trying to make life easier.
Yeah.
And so we're still just refining. We're still learning how to teach this stuff. And so I think that's another place we need to continue to focus is on simplifying, distilling, making this even easier to digest.
I think we need to simplify for sure, but I think we need to come up to a decision of there might be some things that require upfront effort.
Sure.
You can't make a budget without putting a little bit of work into it.
How hard was that first budget?
Oh yeah, it was terrible. That's what I'm saying.
How hard was the second budget?
The first 3 were hard but decreasing as it went on, and now it's like piece of cake.
Yep. Now it just set the budget based on last month, and you just make a few adjustments for what you know is happening.
Yeah, and so I think that's hard because I feel like that is some of the thing that makes it successful.
But no, what makes us successful is going to be figuring out how to get people over the steep learning curve at the beginning.
Yeah.
Maybe you motivate them to push through the power of belief. Maybe you actually simplify
or break that down.
Break it down into smaller chunks. You know,
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to reflect on that a lot right now, and kind of I'm asking the people that have gone through this stuff now, where did it get too hard?
Yeah. Or where did you say?
Where
"Oh
did
my
you
gosh,
spin your tires?
okay."
Here, I thought this was going to take an hour and a half, and you're only a third of the way through it 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on there? And
Yeah.
we're learning a lot, and that's really great.
Okay, so what's the
well, I
the
think that
sentence?
I think that if we push all of this together, the thing that we're really trying to clarify in business speak is our value proposition. Right? We're working really hard to make a difference, to do something. And before we can really do that, we need to be very clear on what it is the problem, what are the problems that the students are facing, and how exactly we can actually help that.
Okay.
And so there's this concept that I've been working with and learning about called a value statement, which basically is kind of a fill in the blank framework. And if you can state this clearly, you probably have a good idea of what you're up to.
This is what we need to work on.
So in the next couple of sessions here, one of our ideas is to start brainstorming this thing. And I don't know, does it work to read it out loud? I guess so. So it's for your target audience, your service or product is blank, and it provides these key benefits. What are they? Customers will choose us because, and then insert, how is it that you're better than your competition? What is it that makes you different? And it's funny because I feel like I know what I talk about all the time, but I don't feel like we've got it distilled to the point
Definitely not this specific.
We can be that clear.
So I think something that you had told me you learned recently that makes the most sense was when writing this statement was that we're always coming up with new ideas. We're never finishing any of them. We're always coming up with new ideas. And, we're trying to think, what's the best way to get this to people? And we were thinking, okay, directly to the student, directly to their parents, to counseling centers, et cetera, et cetera. What ways would be easiest for them to get it? And what we discovered, Justin, was that sentence needs to focus on the end user always. And then if we can use those other distributors, then that's great. So for us, I think the target audience would be students, right? Are we specifically narrowing it down to college students? Because I know we've also talked about trying to get it early, with high school students, trying to get them prepared for college, but maybe just focusing on college to start.
I think we need to do a little bit of research there. Maybe like incoming college students, but
seniors. That's what I'm talking about, not freshmen.
Space is already filled with sharks and people trying to talk. And it's interesting because you deal with this, and depending on where you look, there's different levels of competition. There are some people that are teaching these things, but not really targeted to college students.
You know how much people spend on SAT course tutors and that kind of thing to get into college, get into a good college.
Yeah, but see, it wasn't until I got lambasted with how much harder and how different college was that I realized that I needed to focus on, setting my priorities properly. So in high school, yes, I took an SAT prep course, but high school was easy compared to college. So I didn't think I needed to do all that. So you may need that scared stupid moment to help motivate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I also think it's difficult because every student's different. Like, I feel like I would have benefited in high school as a senior with like a quick time budget, finance budget.
Oh, I don't disagree.
Where I could be like, and where you can kind of get smacked in the head and say, hey, guess what? You're going to have some money and then you're going to have to decide how to spend it. And you're figure out when to fit in your homework in between going out with your friends, and you're not going to be going into school 8 hours a day mandatory. It's going to be everyone has different times for classes. You're going to have breaks in between. I used to go to a 7 a.m. class, come home, sleep for 3 hours in my dorm. Get up.
And I agree with you 100%. But didn't know what you were up against until you
experienced
it.
So
So
maybe
in high school, and so I get it, because I know one of the most beneficial. I feel like one of the most beneficial things we could teach is methods of getting through college debt free, and that has to happen prior to you starting your college admissions process and things like that.
Yeah.
Or at least minimizing it. And then
Yes.
at the other end of it, there's a lot of value to be had in the what do you do when you're graduating phase of things, because one of the things that just astonishes me is, we just had the career fair, and two of the people that I've been working with all year, teaching them our principles and things, went to the career fair. And they come back, and the story that they tell me is, oh, everybody left. They said, oh, there weren't very many people recruiting for our major, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all my buddies were there for like 15 minutes, and then they left, and they're all commiserating in the hallway on their way back, saying, oh, this stinks, man. Nobody came for our major. This is the story they're telling. Meanwhile, the two people that I worked with both got over 10 interviews.
Was it the same major?
2 job offers. Yeah, same major.
Okay.
2 job offers. And beyond that, these two people doubled the average offer in terms of salary. Like, straight up making more than I do, straight out of a bachelor's degree, which I know what I signed up for.
Yeah.
But just unbelievably successful.
Yeah. Well, because they probably had a lot more to say than I have a mechanical engineering degree and my GPA is 3.5.
Right. In fact, they weren't. The one guy
I have a blog and I did this and
he had worked his tail off last semester to break the 3.0 line.
Yeah.
Like, these are not.
Yeah, but I'm saying all the supplemental stuff that you've been saying for.
They've been doing it. And so I think there's a lot of value to be had there, because one of the things that I'm watching happening is that conventional wisdom rules, and a student will get kicked in the teeth and go into debt for 4 years and then spend 15 minutes at the career fair and give up.
Yeah.
And then we don't want it to be our fault, and so we externalize it into these things like, oh, there's nobody looking.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of value to be had at that end too.
So target audience.
College students.
Mm-hmm.
We got the first part.
Boom.
Yeah, but this is the full gamut life cycle of a college student.
Yeah, that's where it gets interesting.
Like, I got an acceptance letter to I got a diploma,
right?
A degree.
Maybe after that, I got a job offer and my first student loan bill. Maybe.
Yeah, 6 months. So 6 months post degree. Okay.
Yeah. Here's the hard part. Your product or service name, Intentional Academy, I assume this is how it is.
Yeah.
Is
what?
Describe product or service. And
the hard part. That's the hard part. And that's why this isn't going to be happening tonight. What is happening is we are listening.
I'm just saying.
And we are trying to understand.
Yeah.
Because here's the weird thing. Our competition isn't really a lot of other things like us. There aren't 17 courses out there that are vying for students' attention, and they're not picking ours over other ones.
Sure.
The problem is that students right now are solving the problems that they're having in bars and with video games and frat parties and binge watching Netflix and a million other things.
Overloading and overstudying.
Well, sure. And just, it's Band-Aids, but you distract yourself from a crummy situation.
Well, I don't even think they identify it, which we've talked about a few times on the show. It's like sometimes you don't even know what kind of a hole you're in until you step back and look,
Right.
They're just day by day, it's the daily grind.
And so
with your student loans, Tony, I don't even remember understanding how much money I had borrowed until I got my first bill.
Nope. No. And I had no idea what my first payment was going to be until the bill came in the mail.
Yeah, nobody's keeping track of that. They're just not.
Yeah.
If you did, you probably wouldn't take as much too. It's a business.
But I feel like they're putting out the small fires. Like, I went to the bar and spent $200, and so now I have to work extra hours at my shift and pay my credit card bill, or whatever.
Yeah, but beyond that, for me, I had no comprehension of the numbers. I remember as an 18-year-old not being sure whether $18,000 was a lot of money or not. I was like, to me right now, that's a lot of money. When I graduate and I'm making bank as an engineer, or so I tell myself.
So you're thinking, I'm going to be making $100,000
a
a year. What's 18?
And
no, I'm just saying that's what you're thinking.
Yeah. Like there was very little comprehension there for me, and I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah.
You just couldn't imagine whether that was a lot or not.
Sure.
So
what that would mean for you when you graduated and had a payment.
So this is a conversation we're trying to have. Reach out if you're watching this, but we're listening and we're hanging out at a lot of new places. Actually, my new favorite place is Reddit. There's some really cool stuff on Reddit. Guess where you can find me on Reddit?
Would it be u/the Tony Farrar?
Yeah, of course it would. And I'm having some neat conversations there, so that's been really helpful. Learning a lot. Just based on the question somebody asks, you can tell what they're worried about. So we're learning. Cool. And we're trying to figure out how we can meet that need. In the meanwhile, as we do this, one of the things I want to do is just continue trying to refine the content we do have. I mean, I've got over 100 blog posts, hundreds of pictures, videos, clips, all this stuff. It's all recorded. It's all saved. And so I've started editing that together into some more cohesive stuff. For example, stripping audio, because it's about daggone time to get serious about this podcast business.
We have 18 episodes, if you include this one, of podcast that is not in audio form except for on my computer.
Right. And let me tell you, I think this is where, if we want to really reach and serve our audience, I think there's a lot of room here, because when you hear the word podcast, what students hear is more time. Okay. They can listen to a podcast while they're doing something else. Okay. The gym, the bus ride, the dishes, doesn't matter. And so that's a value add, because it's the same stuff. But when I talk to people, by the way, nobody watches this video. They press play and they go do the dishes and cook dinner and listen to us talk.
I'm coming in my pajamas next week.
That's the typical user, right? And so I think that we need to get serious about learning how to do this. I'm really excited right now about a platform called Anchor. That's what I'm playing with right now. It's kind of this one-stop shop where you can upload all the audio and edit it really easily. It's got some neat phone features where it'll connect with other people. Like Justin, we could even have this discussion and high audio quality, all this kind of stuff. It's neat. It's got a Callin feature, some stuff like that. So I'm learning how to do it. And then that posts to all the major sources, Spotify, iTunes, whatever. But I've also just been finding out what people like on those.
Yeah.
And it's the rants in the morning, like a 3-minute clip. They'd love that in audio form.
Yeah.
The longer episodes, like the things we're doing, cool. Random conversations that I have with students. I've got a year worth of material now. One of those 2 students I was telling you about from the career fair, we met once a week for a year and recorded an hour conversation. And it's like the documentary of this guy's journey to get a job.
I've heard a lot of audio clips from that, and it's a lot of really good stuff that other people need to hear.
Right.
Because when we were doing the Dave Ramsey thing, the thing I wanted to listen to the most was other people's experiences, so that I could piece out how it related to me.
Right. Well, I think that
what it could look like in the future and things like that, as opposed to just, like you said, the preaching, lecturing. This is what you should do to make your life better. It's, oh, wow, this guy got this job. How did you do that?
Right.
What did you do?
It's hope. It translates my nerdy bullet points into action. It's example after example. I teach engineering, and the only thing anybody ever raises their hand and asks for is another example.
Yeah.
Don't repeat it in different language. Give me an example.
Yeah.
So if there's any one growth area as far as our media is concerned, I am most excited about this podcast business.
Cool.
And I am on a mission to figure out how to do it.
Cool.
But there's some work involved there. So give us some time. You might see some of the other platforms slow down a little bit to give us the opportunity to invest it here.
Because I can tell you that audio, from a production standpoint, adding more sources is a lot easier than video, especially with bandwidth concerns and such. So, or to get premium video talk services and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yep.
Let's see, what else did I want to say really quick? One of the other things that you're going to see is some stuff move around. Trying to clean up there's a difference between Tony Farrar and TonyFarrar.com and the Intentional Academy. It's subtle, but it's there. And I want to clean that up a little bit so people aren't confused. I don't want the Tony Farrar stuff to look like a constant sales pitch. I just want to help. Let's measure impact in terms of people helped. And if some of that translates over into people visiting the Intentional Academy and seeing what's offered there, awesome. But if not, that's okay too. Let's just start making impact and learn how to get better at this stuff. That's kind of the big takeaway today.
Sounds good.
And by the way, a career tip if you are worried about things, and if you're considering the fact that you just got that comm degree and you can't get a job in your industry, here's an idea. Start communicating. Is there a cause that you care about? Just go advocate for it. The best way to get a job nowadays is to work for free until somebody pays you to do it. Right now, I'm trying to get a job at the Intentional Academy. I'm going to work for free for a long time until somebody pays me to do it. I'm just fine with that because the money's not the thing that matters.
Nope.
It's
Reaching people, that's the goal.
Yeah, I feel really good about that. So that's kind of where we're at, Justin. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the next step. Like I said, we've got now after this, so I'll have 18 episodes of podcasts that I have in audio form on my computer. It's just a matter of where we want to house that. And if we want to do a podcast channel and then another facet for the short blurbs and in-person things and recorded conversations and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see if we want to do two separate ones or one that just overlaps. We'll look into that because people do both.
Yeah, Justin, I want you to look at that value proposition.
Is that linked in the document here?
Yeah.
It is in there.
Put the cursor on it.
Yeah.
Value statement. Just, I think we need.
I bolded it for you there.
Just need to keep thinking about it and getting it more specific, and it's just really hard to do.
So, preview of what I'd like to try and do next week.
Okay.
It's around this. The way you write this is that you consider the jobs that the person is trying to get done. You consider the things that cause pain when they're trying to get that job done, and the things that they stand to gain from getting that job done.
Okay.
So why is a student in college? Why is a student applying to a job? Whatever the job is they're trying to get done, that's the job, and then there's pains and gains associated with that. And once we understand that well, we can start mapping that into things that address the need. That's kind of what we're going to brainstorm on next week is jobs, pains, and gains.
It rhymes.
Yay!
Oh, I would also love if we could start working on a not Reddit searched question and answer session where like a real issues, even if it's issues that a student at school brings up or something, you know what I mean? Like
I think the way this is going to grow, Justin, is going to be with the podcast, because if I play a recording of me answering a question live with a student, that's what engenders more people to do the call-in thing and ask the questions. And you should go check this thing out, Anchor FM, dude. I'm psyched for it because it has a built-in feature that lets people call in. And it's basically like they leave you a voicemail, but you get the audio and you can put it on the show.
That's cool, because that's the one reason I could go back and listen. I'll say Dave Ramsey, for example, because it's almost become a game. Somebody calls in and asks a question, and I kind of attempt to formulate the answer in my head based on how I feel like he would answer.
Right.
Yeah. And that helps clarify the individual's game plan too, which is why I think it's so important to expose those kinds of examples.
Right.
Yeah.
So learning more there, but I think this is going to be really important, and we can do short clips of me answering questions, and hopefully that drives people to feel more bold.
Yeah.
And ask them themselves.
Sounds good.
Closing thoughts?
We missed you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that we do have 3 widely varying viewpoints on the same, on the same questions, considering where we are in our lives. So it's good because you can get multiple insights.
Yeah, I enjoy that aspect of this a lot, and I enjoy the fact that we don't have it figured out yet. I don't want to just show up and have it worked out.
Yeah. Something I just thought of randomly was, I wonder if we could get people from our personal, like Tony's getting a lot of students, right? Because that's where he sees people every day. But I wonder if it would help just to have examples, Justin, like of your coworkers or Stacy or somebody in that frame of life, even if it's just talking about past problems type stuff.
Sure, little micro interviews.
Yeah, like, well, I'm just saying, like, yeah, we want students to call in, but maybe we can I have other moms and things like that can call in and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Because even though we're focusing on students and de-stressing them and things like that, a lot of the same principles will work for anyone. And so, it'll be nice to have other examples. So maybe we can try and arrange other interviews is what I was saying. Justin.
I'm brainstorming that possibility as we speak. I'm just
good. We all have
just
homework.
Think about it.
A list of 5 people you would ask next week.
I already know one of the other moms that was following you and saying, "Oh, that's a really good point. I'm really struggling with ABC," and I just talked to her on my own individually, but she had some specific, questions that I think would be useful.
Yeah.
So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think that this is a big part of this. Is we need to involve people.
Yeah. And the more you talk, the more it gets out there, and the more students you'll find.
Wow. Fun times. Wrap it up?
Yes.
Justin?
That's I mean, we've just got a lot to work on.
I know.
It's a.
Isn't it awesome?
It's not a rush.
It's not a rush. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, the only rush I feel is that I don't want people to fall through the cracks. I want to help the ones that need it now.
Yeah.
So motivated, but
don't overstress.
I can't wait to watch this episode a year from now and laugh at where we were. It's gonna be great. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Let me just start by saying thank you to anybody that's watching this. It means the world to us that you're here. You're the reason we're doing all of this. Push all the buttons, likes and shares and all that. This thing's going up on YouTube as soon as this is done. So if you missed it live, you can watch it there. And you can watch it there even if you're not a member of the social network Facebook. Leave comments, especially if you have questions that you'd like addressed. We can answer them on the show live. Come hang out. And let me wrap up by saying this. Here at the end of the semester, the pressure is on to chase after grades. And I would say right now, stay the course. Learn it for real. Let the grade be a measurement of that. And watch how much more happens for you. Above all, go do something on purpose. Have a great night, everybody.
Yeah, have a good night.
Bye.